Well, good morning again. Well, good morning. Granny Gear here for Old Guy on a Bike. Once again, I am back lakeside on an early morning. It is so peaceful out here. I had a family of geese down here. I don't know if you can see it too well on camera. Mama and daddy geese and four, what did they call them? Goslings? And these aren't little chicks. These things are the size of a chicken, right? Because it's like the Canada geese. But they got the little fuzzy downy feathers and little wings about that long. And yeah, fun seeing that. All right. So this is number 4 in the video series Cycling Towards 70s. Now in the video number 3, the last one I did, which I'm going to talk about at the end of this video because the response to that, well, remarkable, just doesn't quite do it justice. So I'll be talking about that at the end of the video. But in the comments, a lot of people were saying, well, Granny Gear, we know you've gone through this metabolic journey of health generally in your life, and that's what video 3 was about. So check that out if you haven't seen that. Kind of cleaning up my act and getting myself to just a better general health, the way I was eating, getting my blood sugar lower and things like that. So that was that journey, and you can go check that out. So, well, Granny Gear, if that's what you're doing for life, and that is what you're doing, then how are you fueling on the bike? Because you know, are you doing that without any carbs or any sugars, or what are you eating? And it's a good question, and it seems a little bit in opposition to the lifestyle. I don't think it is, but it's something to consider, and we'll also be looking at what I'm doing and also considering the fact that is what I'm doing, if I'm putting like a high carb type solution in a bottle, if I'm eating sugary things when I'm riding, am I doing myself harm by doing that? Am I kidding myself thinking that that's okay? I'll talk about that near the end of the video as well. But first, let's find out how I've been approaching moving into rides as a person who's starting fasted, what I'm eating, what I'm making at home, what I got in my bottles, electrolytes, fuels, all that, because it's been, quite frankly, quite a journey. Okay, let's get started. So real quick to begin with, I said that I do the intermittent fasting, and I do, and I still do that, I don't know, at least 3-4 days a week, depending upon the situation in life. But generally speaking, I don't eat past that dinner time, 5 o'clock. We usually eat about 5, and I usually won't eat before 10 o'clock in the morning. I might have some tea, I might have some light, small bit of coffee maybe, but that's generally, if I'm fasting in that sense, that's what I'm going to do. And I found that I can ride pretty decent pace for at least an hour before I start to feel like I need to be bringing some calories in, because most people have enough glycogen stores and energy and calories sitting around in their body where they're able to do that fairly well for at least an hour or so. And that's true for me. If I'm going to ride later in the morning, like say 10 o'clock, it's a kind of a late start to the ride, I will typically have a little bit of food just to settle. I'll have some of my homemade trail mix, or I'll do something like unsweetened yogurt with a little bit of honey sweetened granola on top, and some blueberries or something like that. And I'll do that an hour or 2 hours before the ride. I know a lot of people can do like pancakes and stuff and go ride. It just doesn't work for me. And really that gets back to the individual makeup chemistry of everybody. Everybody's an individual in the sense of what their body kind of likes. For me, I've been able to do the fasting into a ride really quite well. What about the food I'm bringing with me? What's in my saddlebag? What's in my jersey pocket? Well, I like to bring food from home as much as I can because I can control the ingredients. Like I said, I make up my own trail mix. It'll have a mix of some dried fruits in it, like dried blueberries, maybe those little pineapple chunks, things like that. That's a bit of sugar in that. I'll have, one of my favorite things to do, I'll take a flour tortilla, put it on the burner, toast up the edges so they're a little burned because I like that. I'll put a good smear of almond butter in there. I get one from Trader Joe's, but it's a good, simple, low ingredient almond butter, and I'll sprinkle some locally sourced honey on that, fold it up. That is a lovely 400 calorie treat. I don't do peanut butter as much. I just don't like peanut butter as much as I do almond butter. I'll tell you what, do something. Next time you're at the store, grab a jar of peanut butter, one off your shelf. It's like a cheap peanut butter, like you know what I'm talking about. And look at the ingredients in it. Why are there so many ingredients in a jar of peanut butter? In my almond butter, it lists two things, almonds and salt. Now, I like using honey as a sweetener if I can, because honey, even though it's a sugar in that sense, it also has a lot of other really good things for you. Honey is not just refined sugar. Now, I can't bring all the food I need with me for every ride. When I was training for the Climb to Kaiser, some of those rides, they are just really, really long. And even if I'm out, for instance, on a moderate, say a 4, 5, 6 hour ride, and I don't bring a lot of food with me for that, I love stopping at coffee shops. I love the mid coffee shop ride. I'm no ascetic. I'm not some monk just living on rice cakes and, I don't know, universe juice. You know what I'm saying? I love a coffee stop. And so I'll get a pastry or something, you know. I wouldn't stop typically like at a donut shop or something, but I would get like a nice pastry, chocolate croissant or something like that, a scone. So yeah, I will mix that in as well, and I look forward to that. Part of that for me is the joy of being out there doing what I do, and so yeah, I'll certainly do that. If you ever see me at a coffee shop with a scone and a coffee, don't think, you lied to us. You said you were healthy. Well, no, sorry, mea culpa. But here's a next level look at that. If you notice people that do ultra endurance stuff, multi-day stuff, well, you can't carry all the food with you from the beginning that you're going to need. You got to make do with what you've got out there. In other words, it's gas station food, it's convenience store food, etc., etc. And some of that food is going to be sugary, carby, kind of nasty stuff, because the idea is you put something in your body that you're just burning up. You're burning matches, man. You're throwing kindling in a fire. I have said that I never bonked, right? I never got to the point where I just like, you know, you've seen that like on the, like an Ironman, and they come across the finish line and they can't even hardly crawl. They can't even talk. I'd never gotten like that. I said, I don't bonk, actually, I guess. But you know what I think had been happening, and I kind of came to a realization of that, is I think I was bonking like, you know, it's like landing an airplane, right? You're at a certain height and your energy's good, and then you just start to come down, come down, come down. By the time you hit the ground, well, you didn't crash, did you? But now you're not flying anymore either. And I think that's what was happening to me. I just didn't realize it. I had the ability to keep pedaling, right? But my energy stores had gotten so low, I was running out of gasoline basically, that I would just get slower and slower. And I thought, well, Granny Gear, you're just not fast enough, I guess. And these other people are faster than you. Well, they may be. There's a lot of people that are faster than me. But I also think I was simply running out of calories and I didn't know it. So I started paying attention to that and experimenting with those like junky foods while I was riding that are super high in calories. Well, that made quite a difference. In fact, on the Climb to Kaiser, I had a little Ziploc bag with gummy bears in it. When I start to feel kind of low, you know, I mean, that was like 80 miles mostly uphill, for crying out loud. I'd pop a couple gummy bears, just let them dissolve in my mouth, and wow, I was like rocket fuel. I was amazing. Now, I haven't had a gummy bear since then, because it's just not something I'm going to want to eat. But for the day and for that event and for situations like that, it's a compelling argument. Now we talked about the food journey a little bit, and let's talk about what's in the bottle. I divide that into two things, electrolytes and calories, okay? Electrolytes, so for me, wow, I am a champion cramper. I think it's a genetic predisposition. I have always struggled with leg cramps. Like I said, I could usually keep turning the pedals over, even if I was going slower, but I could keep going, except I would cramp, and I have cramped spectacularly through the years. So I wanted to find something that was a solution to that. If I could, I just about given up hope. And then I found Element. Now, Element, LMNT, it's a little packet of salty goodness. And I found that probably, it's got to be 3-4 years ago now, and I've been using it ever since. It's a very high concentrate, like 1,000 milligrams of sodium. There's other things in it as well. If I do a bottle of that an hour, I will not cramp. Now, 1,000 milligrams of sodium an hour sounds like a lot, doesn't it? I was watching a video the other day about how much sodium you lose if you sweat, and it varies with different people. Now, I am a very salty sweater. I've gone for a long, hard ride. My straps of my helmet, my face, I'm like a cowlick, man. I am grimy and encrusted, and my clothing will be all white. Some people can lose from 2,000 to 2,500 milligrams of sodium an hour if you're a salty sweater. You can test for that. I've never been tested, but I bet I'm going to ring the bell, bing! Element came into my life, and there was something in that little packet of salty goodness my body liked, because it was remarkable how I responded to that. I found, even without having any calories added, just Element itself allowed me to push longer, harder into a ride, deeper into the ride, and have my legs feel better, and usually not cramp. I have cramped a little bit here and there, like yesterday was, man, that was a hard ride, where I just didn't do the day right. I didn't drink enough. I didn't have enough electrolytes in me. And that was kind of yesterday. Not too bad, but a little bit. And so if I do it right, and I am so thankful, because boy, you know, when you're riding, you're still feeling strong, you're still putting out power, and then your leg cramps just like shut you down. You're just crawling along until they either go away or you walk out or whatever you do. So for me, having Element in the bottle, that was half the journey, but I still needed to put some calories in the bottle, and that has been something I've been experimenting with. We'll talk about that next. Now, I've been using a product from a company called Fluid Performance Drink Mix, and I've known that company for, since they started, 20 years? I don't know how long that's been. Long time. Good company. I like the owner. He's a great guy. He really puts his heart and soul into a good product, and I have a discount code for that. And if you're interested in trying any of their products after this video, it's 15% off. It's in the description. I'll put it up on the screen. In it, what I've been using lately from there mostly is two things. I've been using their performance drink mix, and I've been using their creatine. I take the creatine powder. That's some real good benefits for especially older athletes. And I put that in my yogurt. I don't put that in my bottle. I think that would be too good. But put the performance drink mix in the bottle, usually like 1 scoop. All right, it gives me a little carbs, small amount of electrolytes, little bit of energy in the bottle, and then I'd have the electrolytes in the other half. And I was wondering, I wanted to experiment with upping my solution in the bottle, so I was getting a higher carb mix. I wanted to see how that treated me, because not everybody can take a high carb mix. You know, some people will have gut issues with that. If you see some of these endurance races, lots of times what ruins the day for the person is their gut shuts down. It's not taking liquids, it's not processing foods. You get that gurgly kind of gut, and it doesn't take too long before your whole day comes apart at that point. I wanted to experiment with seeing, I wanted to, if I could, for these big events, if I can get more calories in every sip, if I can fuel myself more with every sip, then I have to rely less on solid food. And I'm getting that into my body at a more regular pace. So I talked to Richard and I said, what if I go up in scoops? He says, well, go up to about 3 scoops, okay? 3 scoops of this mix, and I'll put up on the screen the numbers of kind of how that falls out in calories and stuff. That is still the point where your body will bring that into your bloodstream pretty quickly. You go above that and it starts to lag and getting that assimilated, or, you know, whatever the word you want to say, get into your bloodstream, into your body quickly. So I started experimenting with a 3 scoop mix in my bottles, which is more than I'd ever ridden with before. And it's actually treated me really well. And this is what I've kind of found out. Now, on a typical ride, say I start the weekly ride with the group. Okay, it's a 35-ish mile ride, 3 hours or so. Sometimes, you know, we're doing some hills, kind of interval-ish stuff, or some 15, 20-minute climbs. We're trying to rip each other's legs off. And then we'll cruise, right? It's not fast-paced all the time. And sometimes it's just generally moderate. Depends on the day. I'd start fasted, and I would have my food, and I'd have some electrolytes. And about 2 hours into the ride, hour and a half into the ride, I'm thinking, I'd like to eat something. I'd have my little burrito. Now, I started bringing the bottle of mix into it. I had my 3 scoop mix. You know what happened? I didn't need to eat anymore. Well, I still ate my little burrito, probably because I wanted it, but I didn't get hungry. I'm like, oh, I've ridden for 2 hours now, and at the last little potty stop, I didn't even think about trying to eat something. And that carried through. So I wasn't getting ill. I wasn't having any stomach issues from the higher carb mix. And the energy that was giving me through that ride was remarkable. And that was just 1 bottle for 3 hours. Well, interesting. So my plan going forward now, as I start training for the death ride, which the training began pretty much yesterday. That was a hard ride. It was a wake-up call to my early spring fitness as well. And man, that was a tough one. I'm going to start with a 3 scoop bottle of fluid in the front bottle. The back bottle would be a packet of Element. So I'll be taking in some of their foods, refilling water. I'll bring all my own mixes with me. I don't like to trust someone else's mix when I'm on a ride because sometimes like you find out something that just doesn't agree with you. So I want to go with what I know, and I'll supplement with the Sag Stop foods. That's the plan. We'll see how that works out. Now, let's look at the question. Is what's in my bottle, is that harming me? If I'm trying to have a lower carbohydrate, lower unhealthy carbs, lower my sugars coming into my body, and also I'm putting a lot of carbs and a lot of sugars into my body, in my bottle, well, is that bad for me? Now, this is just me thinking out loud because I am no expert in this. I don't have any science to back it up, but this is the way I had thought. What is that? You ever been by a campfire? And the fire's been burning. It's a mature fire. It's got some coals. It's looking really good, you know, and it's putting out some heat. It's working like a fire should. And you take a pine cone and you toss it in the fire. What does it do? It just goes whoomp and just gone. All that resin, all that pitch, all that stored up energy that's in that pine cone gets burned up really quickly. That is what I have thought happens when I'm out burning thousands and thousands of calories and I am working hard, and I'm going to be working hard for some time to come. And I put something like that sugary, carby mix into my body. I'm saying pine cone. Now, am I wrong about that? I could be. And I think maybe we'll see long term how that works out. But there's a video I watched the other day, and I'll put it in the description. It's worth watching. And it was exactly on target of that. For athletes like us, is that messing with us? If we're trying to have a healthy lifestyle and we put that in our bodies as we're exercising, is that metabolically bad for us? Watch the video. You can make up your minds for yourselves about that. I don't think so, but I could be wrong. And I guess, well, we'll see. All right, time to wrap this up. But first, I have to talk about the last video. The one where I talked about, that was Series 3 and the cycling towards 70. That went up last week. That was remarkable. The response to that, oh my goodness, I've never seen anything like it. Not on my tiny little channel. You know, right now, as of the filming of this, that's up to somewhere near 70,000 views. 70,000 views. There was almost 2,000 of you in this last week and a half that decided they wanted to become a subscriber, and they clicked the little button. Amazing. Absolutely amazing. I'm stunned, I'm gratified, I'm flabbergasted. I'm a little bit overwhelmed. I think it was like 400 comments. And you know, I try to read every comment and I try to answer every comment. I want to honor you. If you took the time to leave a comment, I like to, if I can, acknowledge the fact that you did that. It may just be a thumbs up, or it might be a comment back to you, but I appreciate the fact you took the time, you felt like you were engaged enough to correspond with me, and that means a lot to me. What was more gratifying than all the numbers and all the subscribers and all that was what I read in the comments. And there were people saying, hey, this is my story. It's a lot like your story. Or this is my story. It's not like your story, but it's still a good story. And I'm on the path toward metabolic health. There were people that said, man, I got to examine what I'm doing. I got to make some changes. Thanks for the wake-up call. Well, that means a lot to me, because if one person made a change in their life, they had the scan that changed everything. They found out that they were standing too close to a cliff they didn't know was there. Well, what could that mean to themselves, to their families, to their, well, cycling towards 70. You guys have a great week and or weekend. And as always, you go ride your bikes.